everyone, this is Steve Rozenberg with Mynd Property Management, and today I am joined with Scott Mazzuca, who is the portfolio manager for the Portland metro area for Mynd. Scott, thanks for joining me today.
Glad to be here.
So what I'd like to talk about today, Scott, is investors failing. We all know that when you're owning investment properties, there's a high chance that investors could fail or portions thereof is failing in this industry. In your area specifically, what would you say are the top reasons that you see investors not be successful and end up failing, and eventually some of them end up just getting out of real estate altogether?
There's a really common pattern out here, and it might be true outside of Portland as well. The thing that a lot of investors have to realize with real estate, and I think it's true with if you're investing in stocks or starting a business, you've got to have a long view. It's a lot of times you can read these success stories where people become millionaires overnight, and it does happen. But a lot of times it's a get rich over time, steady and slowly. So I think what happens a lot of times is people get excited. They buy their first investment property. They try to self-manage that property, and they don't realize how much time it takes. And if they have a bad experience with a tenant, or they just find out that the complications in the rule book is way more complicated. It's like the person who says, I'm going to bust out my taxes, and they buy TurboTax, and if you got a real simple tax return, that's a really good plan. But if you don't, the tax code and tax law is incredibly complicated. You need to hire a professional. And that's really what's happened out here is the rules and regulations are so complex that the time, energy, and frustration, landlords, another big reason is the landlords that try to do the maintenance themselves. And so they're losing their evenings, they're losing their weekends. So I guess to sum up all of these things together really comes down to they'll be burnt out, and after 3 or 5 years, what they end up doing is saying, this is not for me, I'm going to sell and not do it. And then they never really have the chance to really benefit in the long run to say, what if I would have kept that property for 20 years? Now where would I be at age 60?
Yeah,
that's a big challenge.
Or owned multiple. What if I instead of buying 3 and calling it quits, what if I had 30 and I was able to scale that and those 30 were paid off? And I agree. I think, what I heard, what I took from that and what I resonate with as well is, number one, they're not running it like a business. Any successful business, if you're going to go to the bank and you want to open up a business, they're going to want to see a business plan. And if you were to ask an investor, do you have a business plan? 99% of them would say no. But they know that it's a business. They understand there's laws, there's regulations, there's income expenses. So they have a business, so they understand that, but they're not putting the two together, that they have a business and they need a business plan. And part of that business plan is understanding strengths and weaknesses, leveraging other people for their strengths and weaknesses. So you have a team, you're not doing it yourself. I think we have the misunderstanding that when we buy a rental property as investors, we feel that it's part of our ego or self-worth that we have to do everything ourselves. I've got to learn to lay tile. I have to learn to hang drywall. But you really don't, but that's what they think. But with everything else you do, they understand there's leverage. They understand that, if you go fly on an airplane, there's people that fuel the plane. There's people that load the bags. There's people that fly the plane. That's leverage. The airline is leveraging staff. When you have a property management company, you're leveraging staff of contractors, accountants, people to lease the property, same thing. And so I think there's a mental split there. And you said it perfectly. They basically run out of energy because most people don't buy a real estate to have a second or third job. And that's what it becomes. And the challenge is there's no rule book that tells you this is how you run your rental property. This is what you do. And I think that's the mistake that we all run into when we're trying to do this on our own. We don't realize that there actually is a standardized way of doing it. And normally that's with a professional company or running it like a business and having policies, procedures, and structure, and realizing that you have to abide by those, you have to apply, because as you said, there's a lot of laws and regulations that are resident favored that just make things more complicated in this environment to do business. So I completely agree with you. I probably agree with you more on that than most other things I hear people say, because I think it's such a challenge, and I see so many investors fail. So Scott, if somebody wants to talk to you more in depth, specifically about Portland and becoming successful as a real estate investor, how would they do that?
Best way to do it is to go to the website, mind.co, that's MYND.co. Find the Oregon section, and my contact information will be there.
Great. And for those of you that want to join our Facebook group, it's called the Mastermind Real Estate Investment Club. There we have a lot of investors in there talking about what's going on in the industry, both local and national. A lot of investors in there. Feel free to join. Also, you can join our podcast show. It comes out every Friday. It's on iTunes, Spotify, all the channels. And there we talk to industry experts as well as newcomers about their successes and their failures. And we have in-depth conversations. So on behalf of Scott and myself, thank you for watching. See you next time. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you'd like to keep the conversation going, join our Facebook group.